Hello there everybody, welcome to the next YouTube interview. The next person I'm going to interview is...
Hello everybody, my name is Ris Grestar and welcome to my interview with Patrick. Now Patrick, the kind soul he is, decided to send me questions so I can just record my answers on my own and send them back in my own time. So Patrick, I really do appreciate that, thank you. It made it a lot easier for me.
When did you first get into gaming?
I mean, if you know me well enough, you'll probably know that I'm not super familiar with, like, too many different games, too many different franchises, too many different consoles even. So, you know, whether I'm super into gaming or not is totally subjective. Some people would say that I'm not a gamer. I don't know if I would even classify myself as a gamer. If so, definitely casual. But I absolutely do enjoy video games. And I've enjoyed them for basically as long as I can remember. The first... What am I gonna say? Like, the first one that I specifically owned, like, me, I believe was when I was in kindergarten. I think that's when I got Pokemon Yellow version. Well, I own that jointly with my brother, I believe, and then I think that I got my own red version. And then I think down the line I got my own yellow version, like, actually my own. But yeah, that was, like, kindergarten. And I remember, though, like, even before then, I want to say, you know, we owned a Sega, and, you know, I got to see, like, my dad playing Sonic in the garage and stuff. I got to play some, Roads of Rage? Streets of Rage? One of those, you know, one of those side-scroller beat-em-up kinds of games. I just remember there was a kangaroo character you could unlock because I had no idea how to do it, but my older brother could, and I was, like, so jealous at the time and all of that. Some ninja game, might have even been an early Ninja Gaiden game, I don't know, but even a Garfield game with, like, a vampire Odie jumps to mind. But yeah, so I've kind of just grown up with video games, I guess you'd say.
Why did you start YouTube?
I mean, that's a good question. I guess the best answer I could give is just that I wanted to be able to share my experience with other people. Specifically, at the time, I wanted to share it with my younger siblings, instead of having them, like, watch over my shoulder or anything like that, you know? Because I need my space sometimes. But I think the overarching reason and what sticks, like, to this day, like, why I still do it, is I want to be able to share my experiences of different games, of different shows, you know, like, whatever I do, I want to be able to share that with people. So, that's what I'm gonna say.
Who or what inspired you to become a YouTuber?
I suppose the first YouTuber that I watched that, you know, kind of gave me the idea of, like, hey, you can post yourself playing video games and people will think it's cool, you know, that kind of thing, where, like, anyone could do it. I think the first person I watched that really affected me in that sense was Tobuscus, you know, Toby Games. Yeah, I mean, like, there are other people, you know, who I could... What was his name, actually? Mr. Safety? Is that one of them? Like, that's another YouTuber that I remember, mostly for just, like, a few videos, you know? But one of the early ones that I remember watching. But as far as actually what inspired me to start YouTube, I suppose, if anyone, I'd say probably Tobuscus.
What kind of video games do you like?
I think that, I want to say that my favorite kind of video game, you know, genre-wise, is RPG. You know, like Pokemon, Fire Emblem, the Paper Mario series, like, those are all really good games. I really do love them. I've also enjoyed first-person shooters, you know, Call of Duty, Team Fortress 2, Overwatch, that sort of thing. I've enjoyed other such games like Mass Effect. I mean, that's not first-person shooter, but it's kind of, you know, it's an over-the-shoulder third-person tactical shooter, kind of. It's interesting. Anyway, I've definitely enjoyed not story-driven, I mean, that too, but, like, choice-based games where, you know, you are given the option to make choices, and those have, like, consequences that last throughout the entire game, sort of thing. But I have a bit of a complicated relationship with them, given that, like, so whether I'm projecting myself onto the main character, or I'm just trying to play them how I think they are, or how I've built them up, you know? It can be really frustrating when I select an option and it goes in a completely unintended direction. You know, he said or did something, or she, I guess, that I had not intended, that I didn't think, like, was a proper reading of whatever option I'd selected. So that can be really frustrating. But yes, favorite out of those, I'd probably say is RPGs.
What advice would you give to starter YouTubers?
I definitely say to be patient. It doesn't kick off for everyone, you know, like as rapidly as you might expect. I'd also say to do it for yourself, you know, do it for the enjoyment of it. Don't go into it expecting to be able to like live off of it, expecting, you know, like the fame and the glory or anything like that. No, like you have to do it to have fun, like because it is fun for you. I would definitely recommend being yourself, but you do have to understand your audience, or at least what you want your audience to be, and that can all, you know, help shape, you know, how your channel is seen, how you move forward, how you develop both your channel and as a person. So those, I think, are the biggest things that I would say, you know, like be patient, be persistent, be consistent, and do it because you enjoy doing it. Don't do it if it's like a chore to you.
What plans do you have for YouTube in the future?
Frankly, that's difficult to say, especially right now. I'm in an interesting position with my YouTube channel where I am questioning a lot of things. I'm getting like more and more, well, I mentioned in the advice bit how I really think that you should do it for yourself because you find enjoyment in it, not because, you know, it's an obligation or whatever. And recently it has oftentimes felt like an obligation for me, where, you know, like while I'm recording something it might be fun, but then I always get like, you know, disappointed, I suppose, with feedback. Because as I mentioned even earlier, the biggest thing for me is sharing in the experience. And so, for instance, I spent a lot of time creating my April Fool's project with my fake Doki Doki Literature Club route, and it didn't receive the response that I was expecting, you know? I got some really nice comments for sure, a lot of people really seemed to like it, but it was just like so limited in quantity. And that is, you know, that's on me, you know, if I have unrealistic expectations, you know, frustration and disappointment always comes from unmet expectations, whether you realize you have those expectations or not. So that's just on me, you know, maybe I just have trouble being satisfied in that regard with a lot of things. But as far as YouTube plans are concerned, I'm still ironing that out. Like, I definitely don't want to quit at this point, but I'm not sure about, you know, the games that I want to play or the scheduling that I want to have. As far as like streaming on Twitch goes, I had a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, and then like a couple weekend stuff thrown in there. But I don't think that like I want a schedule anymore, for instance. I think that I just want to stream when I want to stream, and sometimes that'll mean I stream several times a week, and sometimes that'll mean I go several weeks without streaming. Like, it's hard to say. It makes it difficult because I know that people like maybe aren't relying on me, but are expecting certain things from me. Especially, for instance, on Twitch, if people are subscribed to me, then they're expecting videos or, you know, streams. And so if I go a long period of time without streaming, you know, I would feel really bad for, like, neglecting them, for not living up to whatever they expected. So plans at this point, I'll say, are complicated. Especially considering I have things going on in life right now that's just complicating things even further, without even having to consider just sort of my mental state regarding all my YouTube channel stuff.
Are you happy with where you're at on YouTube? Do you feel like you've accomplished anything?
To answer the first question, it's honestly difficult. Like, if I had to answer, I think perfectly honestly, am I perfectly happy with where I am on YouTube? I guess I'd say no, I'm not. I'm very grateful for where I am. I feel lucky that I'm where I am, but I can't say I'm entirely happy with where I am. You know, I would like to have, you know, more subscribers and more consistent viewership, you know. I would like to be earning more, because I was at one point earning more, and I was able to like live on my own, or not live on my own, but live away from home and pay rent with it and everything. But my earnings have drastically decreased, and that sort of thing. So having a taste of that freedom that YouTube provided me, to have it then taken away, it did a lot to make it much more disappointing afterward. So yeah, I can't say that I'm entirely happy with where I am, though I am grateful to be given, you know, to have had the opportunities that I have had so far up to this point. Do I feel I've accomplished anything though? Yeah, I absolutely feel like I've accomplished some things. Not anything monumental necessarily, but it's when I get into my really downer moments, because I absolutely do get into those depressive states from time to time, absolutely. You know, it's hard to see the things that I've accomplished. But, you know, you can look at my channel, you can go through my videos, like, I've uploaded so many videos. You know, you can go with me on all these journeys through different games, through different kind of like periods of my life, you know, living in multiple different houses or whatever. Not that you can necessarily tell, but yeah. You know, if you go back to like my earlier videos and then to my later ones, you can see there are areas where I've grown. There are also certainly areas where I've grown more lazy. And maybe that'll change again, you know. I hope that, you know, over time I'll develop into something bigger, as, you know, I also hope that my channel itself will grow bigger. Again, viewership grow bigger and more consistent, that kind of thing. But I do feel I've accomplished things that I can necessarily put into words, like, not necessarily, no, but hopefully I've been able to, you know, like, touch people's lives in a positive way. Hopefully I've been able to entertain people, help them through tough times, just help them forget and enjoy an experience that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have experienced. So if I can do that, then yeah, I definitely say that I've accomplished something.
And now, just for our viewers to get to know you a little bit more, I'm going to ask you a couple other random questions. What kind of movies do you like?
This is kind of cheating, I suppose, but like, I mean, superhero is essentially a genre at this point, so I'd say my favorite genre is superhero. Specifically like the Marvel movies. Not that I love each and every one of them, but they're my most reliably enjoyable movies. And like, if a new Marvel movie is coming out, then I essentially want to see it, even if I have no idea really who the hero is. Like Doctor Strange, I really didn't know anything about him, but I trusted it. It looked good in Marvel and everything, and I was like, yeah, I did enjoy it. So, you know, that kind of thing. Superhero movies are just nice. Comedies can be good, but it's a little more iffy because, you know, because comedy is just such a vague, like, broad term, you know. It can mean so many different kinds of humor, so it's hard to say that, but I definitely have enjoyed comedies, of course. Action also can be good, but I'm a bit of a paranoid chicken kind of thing, so if it's too, not intense in the action so much, but if it's like the suspense, if it's too like suspenseful, so if it's a thriller, you know, maybe not so much up my alley. But I can enjoy like a good, you know, Matrix or White House Down or things like that. Those are the first two movies that came to mind instead of like Mission Impossible or things like that. White House Down, sure, why not? I actually did enjoy that movie. I remember enjoying that movie, watching it on Netflix and all that. Yeah, I wouldn't really say anything else aside from that, I suppose. I mean, my favorite movie currently, as it has been for quite a while now, is Zootopia. And I love Star Wars and things like that, so if that helps, you know, broaden, you know, or I guess actually if that helps narrow it down, kind of the movies that I like, awesome, I hope that helped. I'm definitely not a fan of horror, especially like the, you know, like Hostel, Saw, Final Destination. Like, I really am not a fan of what some people would call torture porn. It's not for me. If I were to watch a horror movie, I would prefer it to be, you know, like a more goofy slasher kind of one, or maybe a psychological, like a smart horror movie, you know. But I couldn't watch just like the pain and the blood and the mutilation. That is not for me by any means. And then romance, it's either like way too sappy and I hate it, or it makes me sad. So yeah, I mostly just stick to like action or comedy, or action comedies.
Do you watch anime? And also, what are your thoughts on RWBY?
Now, are those asking my thoughts on RWBY in relation to anime? Like, do I consider it an anime? Because in short, I would say no, I wouldn't consider it an anime, even if it has anime-esque qualities. I'd consider it a cartoon. And when I say just consider it a cartoon kind of thing, I don't mean that as a negative, in that cartoons are like somehow less or worse than anime, because that's just not true. Anime is a kind of cartoon, you know? So, yeah, just throwing that out there. But yeah, to answer the questions, just as they're given, do I watch anime? From time to time. Not very often, but I also don't watch too many shows too often. You know, TV or movies for that matter. I find it difficult to just actually like get myself to sit down and start something. So movies are hard enough. But then you get like an anime or a TV series or whatever where there's like all that obligation and investment, and it's really hard to get myself to actually like commit to that. So usually if I'm watching something, it's just watching something on YouTube that I don't even, I don't have to invest in. I could just, take the enjoyment out of it, have my laughs and then move on. So, yeah. And then what do I think about RWBY in particular? I enjoyed Volume 3 quite a bit. Volume 1 and 2, Volume 1 especially, they had their shaky moments for sure. And they were basically just building up to Volume 3. Hopefully that's not a spoiler to anyone. But I think it had a really good payoff with Volume 3, but yeah, Volumes 1 and 2, they were a little bit slow at times. They had, some interesting pacing. Interesting is a choice word there. And, they just weren't the best executed all around. But, Volume 3 turned that around. I watched a bit, I actually feel like I watched halfway through Volume 4 or something, but then I had all of these, I think it was when I had computer issues and then was moving, and then I just kind of never picked it up again. And that wasn't necessarily because I had grown tired of it. It's just something about me. I'll just drop something and move on to the next thing. Even if I'm still interested in pursuing whatever the first thing was, for some reason I find it so hard to get back to that. Just those kinds of things in general. So I'll find a game, whether it's new or I've seen it before, and I might be super into it and I'll binge it for a while, and then I'll just drop it all of a sudden. Even though I didn't necessarily lose interest, maybe I burned myself out in a way, but it didn't occur to me that that was the reason necessarily. I just kind of stopped. I did that with a lot of activities, unfortunately. But yeah, I do feel about RWBY that they have a really cool world from the sounds of it. The lore of it is really cool, and I feel that they did miss out on a lot of opportunities. I feel they didn't take, they didn't make the most of everything. I think, frankly, they could have done a better job in a lot of areas, or there are things that they should have been, spending more time on as opposed to other things. They definitely have some cool narratives, again, especially in Volume 3, and, you could see the aftermath in Volume 4 and such. But I think they squandered some stuff. I think they did. But, that's just, you asked my opinion, that's my opinion. Of course, I haven't seen, the last part of Volume 4 or any of Volume 5. I don't think Volume 6 is out yet, so I won't say anything about that, obviously. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So I hope this was insightful to you, Patrick, and to all of your viewers. I hope that you guys enjoyed, I suppose, listening to me ramble on about these questions. I feel like I tend to ramble, I tend to give more information than is actually desired, because I could definitely answer, when did you first get into gaming? Oh, when I was 5. And then just move on, or whatever. When did you start YouTube? Or why did you start YouTube? Because I wanted to make videos, But hopefully I was in-depth enough to satisfy anyone's curiosity, and hopefully not too in-depth or whatever to really bore people. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and Patrick, thank you for being patient with me and for helping me, helping find a way to make this work a little bit better. I appreciate that, because obligation stresses me out. So, thank you. And with that, we're calling it here.
Thank you so very much, Riz, for letting me interview you. Thank you so very much for answering all my questions. You gave some awesome answers. And everyone, I highly recommend that you go to Ris Grestar's channel and check out his content. He is a very hilarious, very funny YouTuber. Oh my god, he makes amazing playthroughs, especially his Jurassic Park playthrough. Now that one I would recommend the most. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you all liked it, and I really hope you guys go give Ris Grestar some support. Okay everyone, goodbye.